afternoon. I'm Tony Leone. I'm going to be your host for today's event. This is the 7th installment by Spark Go Studio Speaker Series that is powered by Plug and Play, and we are here at Emory University Center for Innovation. The Hatchery. This is a space designed to support students and entrepreneurs as they learn, prototype, build, and launch new ideas. Whether you're joining us in person or virtually, get ready to launch into the future of AI. Don't worry, we're not going 88 miles per hour, so hold on to your seats because you are still in for a journey. Today's speakers range from different perspectives on artificial intelligence, and we hope that you leave with insights that not only blow your mind, but are also relevant to your work, research, or education. Now, if you're watching online, hey there, how you doing, Mom? Feel free to share any questions or comments in the chat. And for those of you that are here in the room, we welcome you and your feedback during our keynote and panel discussions. Again, we have a microphone right here that I'll ask you to bring your questions to. But if you haven't heard of this event before, Spark by Go Studio is a cutting-edge educational series focused on innovation and the real-world applications of emerging technologies. Today's theme is AI 10 years into the future. Now, recently, we have seen rapid progress in areas like agentic systems, artificial general intelligence, large action models, and multimodal models. And now I know we're all here discussing AI 10 years, but 10 years is like light years in terms of the progress that is yet to come. It could only take maybe 3 years until some of these actual technologies really take form. This session will explore what's next, including how AI is evolving and how it's reshaping industries and human-machine collaborations. We'll begin with a keynote from an expert in AI, followed by a panel discussion with leaders who are building and deploying AI-powered technologies. But before we dive in, I would like to share a little bit about our host, Go Studio, and our partner organization, Plug and Play. So Go Studio is the in-house innovation center of Income Payments. For those unfamiliar with Income, we are a global leader in payment technology. Our solutions help businesses grow across a wide range of industries, from retail and healthcare to transportation and financial services. Go Studio was created to help clients solve complex challenges using emerging technologies. It's a diverse team of strategists, designers, and engineers focused on building solutions for today and for the future. As markets shift and consumer expectations evolve, Go Studio delivers the expertise and support to stay ahead. And now, give a round of applause, because I would like to introduce to the stage Nate Hinman. He is the Director of Enterprise and AI at Plug and Play. Nate,
Thank you very much, Tony. Hello, everyone. It's good to be here back in Atlanta again. I make it out here 2 to 3 times a year, and so I always love being here. Thank you very much to our partners at Incom and at Emory and the Hatchery. This is, I believe, the second or third time we've hosted here, and it's a great venue, a great university as well. Just to kick it off, if you're not familiar with Plug and Play, I'll give you a quick little overview. We are a global innovation platform. We do essentially 3 things. We provide venture capital services funding in over 200 companies per year. We provide accelerator programs in 25 different industries. These are very unique programs in that they are stage agnostic, so we'll accelerate a seed stage company and a Series D stage company. And the word accelerate kind of changes, or the definition of accelerate changes when you look at an early stage company versus a late stage. So we offer mentorship, curriculum, office space, but most importantly, access to venture capital funding through Plug and Play, as well as our corporate partners with CVC groups and other VCs that we co-invest in. And then kind of lastly, what we do is provide corporate innovation advisory services. So we work with about 600 global 2,000 companies, working with their CTO office, innovation teams, corporate venture capital teams, CVC groups, AI teams, individuals who are essentially tasked with identifying, evaluating, adopting, investing in, acquiring, or partnering with new technology. So think of us as an outsourced technology sourcing team for your company. And with that said, we've got an amazing panel today and an amazing keynote, so I won't keep you too long, but thank you all very much for being here today. Thank you everyone online, and apologies for those hiccups on the live stream, but it looks like we got everyone here, and I'll kick it back to Tony, and thank you all very much.
Thank you, Nate. I've had the pleasure of being over at Sunnyvale hosting with Plug and Play before, and it is riveting the work that they do, the various verticals that they have, all delving into technology. It is exciting, and this is but a microcosm of a larger scale of what's to come, not only at Plug and Play, but also Go Studio. So now that we have warmed up the stage here, let's turn it on fire for our main man over here, our keynote speaker, Mr. Sagar Patel, coming up to the stage. Sagar is a senior machine learning scientist with a decade of experience in machine learning and AI. He has worked across applied engineering solutions, architecture, and education, and his current work focused on enterprise retrieval augmented generation, or RAG for short. Say that 10 times fast, right? I'm sure you do all the time. And securing Gen AI applications across regulated environments. As a passionate educator, Sagar has delivered 500 plus hours of ML AI training and presented at events, including Google DevFest. I mean, how does this measure up? This has got to be much cooler, right? I'm here. And Analytics Video's Data Hour. Today, he's going to provide us with a historical overview of AI and share his perspective of the future of AI and the best way to prepare for this transformation. Sagar, take it away.
Thank you so much, Tony. Hello, everyone. Am I audible at the back? Yes, thank you. I started my journey almost 10 years back in this world of machine learning and AI. And thankfully, I've been able to keep that spark. Kind of resonates with the spark here. And my aim today is to light up that spark within you also. So my first message to all of you is we stand at the frontier. This is arguably the biggest transformation that will evolve us as humankind. And you all are having a front row seat to witness something really amazing. A force which is going to drastically change how we live, how we interact, how everything happens around us. And that comes on the shoulders of giants. How many of you recognize any of these pictures? Maybe one or two? Yes. So on the very left, we have Frank Rosenblatt. I hope I do justice to their name pronunciations. Jan LeCun, Joshua Bengio, Jeffrey Hinton, and many other researchers. These are the people who have paved the way for the AI that we are witnessing today. It was almost half a century worth of pavement, half a century of efforts, where we started with the single perceptron model, Frank Rosenblatt, right? And built incrementally on top of everything. And right now, on the extreme end, for me, the biggest inflection point in recent times was 2022 when ChatGPT was launched, and their model had 175 billion of those neurons. Talk about amazing and talk about scale. If that cannot amaze you, I don't know what will. But it all happened on a very incremental basis. Backpropagation happened. We started training neurons. Then came LeNet by Jan LeCun. I'm not sure if you've seen, but there's a video of Jan LeCun demonstrating character recognition, especially the number recognition. It amazes my mind that even the computers seemed very archaic. And we are talking about 1989 or something. The amount of computational power you had, the amount of resources you had. They didn't even have a proper camera. They were using a university projector kind of thing to even detect the numbers. And it was just amazing. They had 99% accuracy to detect any handwritten number. And this is 1989 we are talking about, if I'm not messing up the numbers. So my point being, we stand on shoulders of these giants who paved the way. And we had major movements, major milestones. AlexNet happened the first time. ImageNet, you have a 15% error, which means, inversely, you had 85% accuracy, which doesn't sound impressive. But then, when we talk about the scale of data, that was 15 million around images across 20,000 classes. So if you have done machine learning on a binary classification problem or a small class problem, that was amplified by a magnitude. So then came ResNet, and of course, the most transformative thing, transformers, which is what we are writing right now. And this is a a culmination of 50 years of hard work, research. There was a AI winter where people who were talking about AI were chased away. There were major stock market crashes happened because people used neural networks to do stock trading. So had a little winter, but finally we have come to a place where that neuron has transpired into something which is almost as good as a human brain, if not better in certain specific scenarios. And now we have another aspect that I want you to acknowledge is it's not just been the model research and architecture and algorithms. We needed something else also to reach where we are today, and that's the compute. Back in 1970s, one supercomputer, the first supercomputer, had 1 megaflops of floating operations done. Today, H200s are still considered amongst the top tier GPUs, but even H100, a single GPU, does 3,000 teraflops. So that's like 10 power 15, and that's almost 3 billion times faster. So models became better. We made better architectures, better research happened. Compute accessibility increased. And finally, the third thing that made it a holy trifecta was the access to data. They have fancy numbers saying that 90% of the data we have generated is in just like last 2 years. So the rate at which we are generating data and the amount of data we have is mind-blowing now. So this whole three things have made the trifecta, which led to this recent 3-year shock. Right? November 2022, ChatGPT came. And then came a flurry of updates, incremental. Every few months, something new happened. And suddenly, the pace of evolution just picked up. In matter of 3 years, things were done which are impossible to even think back in 2017, before 2017. I used to talk to my research colleagues. We used to have some intellectual conversations. I can bet my life no researcher back in 2015 would have envisioned what's happening today. And that's another important message. The rate of evolution and rate of development has suddenly picked up at a lightning speed. Right? Just to mention a few of them, we got multimodal capabilities, we got image understanding, we got memory, we got the ability to search, we got the ability to generate images, we got the ability to expand the context so much it could basically fit a whole library, right? And this has really raised expectations now. We are not settling for just some fancy POCs. We are really wanting some fancy features now. So that pace and expectations have increased. So now, I still believe, and this is my personal opinion, we are still in the low-hanging fruit stage. You hook up your ChatGPT LLM to enterprise databases. You do meeting summaries. You can do email draftings and spelling corrections and bunch of things. Generate boilerplate code. Some bit of help with analytics, spreadsheets, knowledge search. But all of this, I believe they are low-hanging fruits. Why? Because in the last 3 years, people were focusing on these information technology zones where problems were much standardized and actionability was relatively easier. So now we almost have a template of how to solve question answer in an organization scenario. And every small tier or mid tier or big tier organization is just replicating that template to do retrieval augmented generation, hooking up with company databases and everything. So what will happen, I suspect, is as we start, this low-hanging fruits become standardized and everyone is able to achieve that, we will come to a phase where people will question the bubble and will question the impact of AI and if the bubble is going to burst. And my point to that is, It's just that the last 3 years had very high pace. Once all the low-hanging fruits are, achieved, uh, there will be a mismatch between the expectations and the supply of new magic. So this is the place where a good AI engineer will stand apart from the rest. And for me, I believe that will come by living this winter also and focusing on harder problems. This will be the stage where you focus on deep domain problems. Think about genomic research. I'm sure there is advancements happening right now, but the problems that we solve in these kind of deeper domains are not trivial, not standardized enough. It will require a lot of dedicated efforts and incremental upgrades before you start seeing great results and transformative results in those fields. So here's my vision of the future. It's nice that AI is helping me write my email. What I really want AI to do is solve the cancer or solve chronic diseases or solve world food hunger. And those things will take time. Those are complex problems. They are problems of higher scale. And that's when I hope some of you can just keep your head down, work harder, and make bigger impacts. So bottom line, don't chase headlines. Invest in an ecosystem that will pay off later. Have cross-disciplinary teams who understand your domain as well as the AI engineering aspect. And have a patient roadmap. I understand people have obligations to their bosses, stakeholders, and shareholders and everything. But Rome wasn't built in a day. So you'll have to focus on that. And that will transition into my next theme. What I believe is the key areas, or what are the key tips and tricks and insights that I can give for you to ride this wave and get the better deal out of it. So my first, amongst the many other messages for this session, this section message is a brilliant mind without the right ecosystem is a wasted potential. I'm sure you will all agree it's a very philosophical statement, but it's also true in the AI world. LLMs, we are having incrementally good LLMs. We went from GPT 3.5 that was able to converse like human to GPT 0.1, the reasoning models, which were able to solve much more complex problems by having a detailed plan. So models are getting good, but that's not the only thing that will help us evolve faster. Ecosystem plays an equally important role, right? Let's see a couple of scenarios where this is pretty evident. Imagine you say, can I expense Uber intercity for this travel quarter, right? So again, this thing is pretty standardized now. We need RAG. Without RAG, model will just cook up anything, right? Its ability to generate coherent language should not be mistaken for the factual correctness or its intelligence, right? So there was a time where being able to speak coherently or crisply was considered as an artifact of intelligence. Now we need to question that too. Second scenario, right? Live data. If you say, hey, book me a flight from Austin to Atlanta or San Francisco to JFK, whatever, it needs real-time data. It needs integration with real-time systems. Without that, again, your system will fall apart. And then there is an actionability perspective also. I just don't want someone to make plans for my vacation. I also want someone who can book it, right? That's the next step. So that also comes from a deeper ecosystem of integration. It's not something that you just give LLM some APIs and it'll magically do its things. So my point here is that LLMs are evolving and fundamental research is going to push them as much as possible. But when you start adapting it in your own domain, you will have to account for this ecosystem aspect a lot. And I believe that's where bulk of the value and add-on will happen. That's where you will be able to differentiate yourself. It's not like OpenAI is the only transforming or pioneer in their field. Let's say someone is working in medical research. Them building a deeper ecosystem could be an equally bigger contribution in AI. So to summarize the challenges for LLMs alone, there's a grounding gap, no trusted or fresh context, hallucinations, stale answers, everything. There's an action gap. If you do not have tools and APIs integrated, you can't perform those actions. And finally, there's also governance gap. AI has general knowledge. It is universally smart. Does not mean it will have knowledge of your own organization's playbooks and rule books and policies, right? So when you make systems like those, it's not even going to be solved by simple RAG. It is things that have to be thoroughly tested and integrated into workflows. Imagine this. You can hook up a ChatGPT to your medical data. You can hook it up to PubMed research articles and everything. But then when you say, hey, I'm having some kind of a rash on my skin, or I'm having some tingling on my fingers, and suddenly ChatGPT says, okay, it feels like it's neuropathy. Do you really think ChatGPT is the right person to diagnose you that you have a neuropathy? There are 5 different steps before that a trained professional would do, assess those things using various other devices, and then come to that conclusion. So just because ChatGPT fluently spoke something and said, hey, you have neuropathy, doesn't mean you accept it at its face value. And that's where another side note I have. AI is transforming everything, but the people who are intellectually challenged in certain domains or emotionally vulnerable will have a hard time adapting to AI. You need to know what you're dealing with. You need to know what it can and cannot do. So coming to some good practices, this is what I believe if you are venturing into AI and adapting into AI, these are the bare bones essentials. The list can be infinite. I would love to talk for hours, but obviously that's not possible. So I'm going to give you the most essentials. If you have worked even like a few months in AI, this might be redundant, but at the cost of sounding redundant, I will highlight the important stuff. So the first one is provide the right context to the chatbots or your applications. If you don't, it will still generate an answer, and there will be no way for you to know if it had all the required right data to make that decision, right? So connecting to knowledge is the very first thing. And one of the easiest examples is, who won US Open 2025? Like, if you do not have the real-time APIs or web searches, the LLM will cook up this answer and you wouldn't even know. I can ask this to an air-gapped llama, 30 billion whatever model, and it will still cook up an answer. Does it mean it's right? Absolutely not, right? So providing the right context is very, very important. Second is retrieval has its own complexity. Again, if you have worked in AI, vector DBs, provide you that semantic search functionality where you can say, give me someone with cloud skills, and the semantic search knows that cloud essentially means AWS and Azure. So even if your search did not have Azure as a keyword, it was able to retrieve it. How? It was semantic search. For many people, that seems like magic, but that's semantic search. That is what is challenging Google these days. Google's traditional algorithms were, it all started from PageRank. They added TF-IDF and machine learning aspect to it. Obviously, they are evolving too. But this is the reason why many of us have transitioned from searching to Google to searching on ChatGPT, because the retrieval is much more accurate. And instead of having to read so much of top 5 articles, I can get a right answer in one shot. So that is also transforming things. And citations and guardrails. Citations are equally important, and probably one of the things that will help you against hallucinations, right? So all in all, it will really unlock the right potential of your LLM. So hooking up with right data, RAG and web search are the key parts, in my opinion. Second is databases and tools. So in an organization, you will have lots of databases, and all of them serve a certain purpose. If you do not provide those right context, again, your LLM will fail, it will hallucinate, cook up things, and you wouldn't know. The current standard is MCP. It's been like 3 or 6 months now. It's a way how LLMs can communicate to different systems. It could be your flight booking system. It could be your personal files on Google Drive. It could be the web search. Everything is standardized. So if you are trying to build AI systems, MCP is another key thing you should be aware of. And then comes the human in the loop situation for some like critical aspects. Imagine if somebody says, hey, my credit card is stolen. Can you send me a new credit card? Do you think AI should completely handle that case end to end without any proper validations with human in the loop, right? You hope not. Your bank can have those changes in name of efficiency, but if that happens, they are putting your finances at risk. So there are certain scenarios that are very critical, and you need human in the loop. All of this has to be accounted for. So if you do this kind of scenarios, the kind of use cases it unlocks is travel assistant, right? You can get the live flight prices. You can potentially do a booking also. Personal productivity, again, calendar, like booking a meeting slot, and all kind of scenarios. Now this is somewhat associated to the previous point, but I just wanted to emphasize it even higher. So imagine this. I'm coming to my workplace, and if I tap my badge at the front desk, what happens? There are fundamentally strong systems, traditional systems that know what to do. They will first see, hey, who does this badge belong to? Is the badge chip authenticated? Is it the right one? Then they'll say, okay, this is person Sagar Patel. Does he have access to this room? Then and only then I'm entering the room. So there are many hard domain-specific checks happening across various databases depending on your rule books. Now, if you hook up your databases to ChatGPT, you cannot expect the ChatGPT to know which database to look up, what workflows to execute to authenticate and authorize this person. So what I mean here is that deep domain integration and conveying ChatGPT what you need to validate is very important. So the bottom line is ChatGPT cannot guess things that are happening in your own organization. Someone, that domain expert, has to come and embed that within the AI system. And how do you do that? There are ways. First one, the most easiest one is, of course, you add it in your system prompt. But then there are deeper ways where you create rule books, you create rules as code. And those are the kind of things that will help ensure that ChatGPT is taking the right responsible actions. So the bottom line is an LLM without the right data set or the right rule book is not going to work. Similarly, actionability becomes another part. I think I had an example there, right? My corporate card is lost. Freeze it now, issue a new one, and notify my manager. So ideally, you wouldn't want to do this using ChatGPT. But if you were to, there are multiple tool calls and multiple notifications and emails that need to be sent to different departments to take the right action, right? You freeze your card, issue a new one, send it to this mail, those kind of things. So all of this will happen only when you integrate these tools with your AI system. So deep domain integration, tool workflows, API calls, all of these things are going to make your AI system the complete system. So I hope that gives you an idea of the whole ecosystem. There's a lot more than just a model or LLM. So summarizing it all, here are my essentials for a good agentic system. And by the way, I did not use the flashy word of agentic system, but all of these are essentially fundamentals of a good agentic system, right? So context, give the right context, RAG, web search, attributable knowledge, citations. Tools and APIs. You need to standardize, have a standardized tool registry. MCP is the way to go for, and that will give LLM the ability to make external calls. Rule books and workflows, these need to be vetted by your subject matter experts and made sure that they are part of the AI workflow. Actionability, again, you want your LLM to be able to trigger mails, send requests to different departments, all kind of scenarios. And finally, agent-to-agent communication. Why? Because here is a salient point. You cannot make, irrespective of how intelligent that agent looks like, one agent can't do everything. So we make specialized agents and let these people communicate. So that requires agent-to-agent communication. And that finally helps you make a good agentic system. And now comes the final section of my messages. It is the cool and sexy that usually gets the attention. That flashy experiment or the flashy thing, sending a picture and converting it into a video. But it's the robust and resilient that will keep the attention. So you might like that fancy demo and you will try it. But if it does not work consistently, if it does not work for your use cases, it's useless. So, when you make products, you're not wanting to capture their attention. You're wanting to ensure that, I can get your job done. You want to build that trust. And that comes when you have a truly robust and resilient system. So here is my quick list of how to ensure the robust and resilient part. Again, amongst all of my slides, this is perhaps the most dense slide in my opinion. I kept it tentatively depending on how much time I'm left to talk about it. So looks like we are good on time, so I'm going to spend good time on this. Until now, we talked about the features of AI. But when you talk about enterprise deployments, there is a lot more that's important than just a flashy feature, right? So the first one is data quality and lineage. Just hooking up your ChatGPT or LLM endpoints to data sources does not mean it's end of the problem. You need to ensure the data is good quality. You need to ensure the data has good versioning system. Imagine this. Olympics winners, or let's say presidents of United States. Now, who is the president of United States? You have a long history of things. You cannot just say president of United States XYZ. You need to archive and version all of the historical data as well. But perhaps the most challenging feature or the most challenging point in enterprises these days is to have the most latest data, A. B, clean data. Because you can ensure the quality of data you enter, but there are 20,000 other people working for the same company, and you cannot vouch for the quality of data that they keep. So the quality of data and ensuring that everything is fresh and correct is very important. Second point comes generalizable systems. And this is where I think most people have a bad experience. And I'll talk about my personal experience. I saw a video of Nano Banana. Anyone familiar with Nano Banana? Yes. Those videos looked so crazy good, right? I increased my hopes also. I gave a picture of my dog and I said, make a 3D version of my dog. I was hoping if it generates a 3D version, I would maybe make a statue or a 3D version of my dog. It failed terribly. Why? Is it like Nano Banana cannot do 3D modeling? Apparently, they showed in the demos it can. The problem was it was not generalizable enough. Just because your system works on use case A does not mean it will work on use case B, A, C, and D. right? So when you make AI systems, it is your responsibility to ensure that it works in general scenarios everywhere. Otherwise, your customers will always have those challenges and say, hey, you're just selling flashy demos. Your product actually doesn't work, right? So that gap is going to be the biggest killing thing for your business. So let's make that gap as closer as possible. And the way you do that is you need to have a very comprehensive and thoroughly vetted set of test cases. You can't just portray one domain cases, and this goes into like statistical like theory and sampling theory, good experiment design scenarios. But the bottom line is this: test your thing for multiple scenarios and make sure it is robust and it is generalizable on different cases before marketing your product. Third one, this again kind of bleeds into the second point. Establish clear boundaries and limitations. Today, anyone can go on ChatGPT and seek medical advice or seek legal advice. But does it mean it is the authoritative entity to help you there? Perhaps not. Just because it's a great information retrieval system, just because it is a great coherent language generation system, doesn't mean it is a drop-in replacement of an actual lawyer, right? If anyone of you ever needs to use a lawyer, you might do ChatGPT search, but will you trust your life with ChatGPT? I'm pretty sure not, right? So that means when you make your own AI product, system, whatever, you need to be very clear and transparent to your end audience and say, hey, this is what works, this is not what it's supposed to do. As long as you are communicating this well enough, those surprise moments for clients will be reduced and you will have a more pleasant experience. Fourth one, manage model uncertainty and output validation. Now this again has its roots in machine learning and statistical theory, but I'll try to break it down into simple language. If you ask the same question to ChatGPT 3 times, most likely, guaranteed, it will give you 3 different answers. It may have the same core message and thoughts, but it will surely generate different language. So now here is my question. If it can generate 3 different variants of the same answer, how do you know which one is the most representative and accurate? And even more so, small changes in the question yield drastically different answers, right? Which clearly means it's a non-deterministic thing. You will not get the same answer every time. So now here is the thing. If you go to your friend and say, hey, what's the best way to reach the airport? And says, hey, take I-75, but don't take it in the rush hour, take this route. But if you ask the same person again and say, hey, take I-75, it's the best route, you'll reach there fastest. It's like, you just gave me 2 different answers. Like, how am I supposed to trust you? Where's the trust factor here? Right? As brilliant as LLMs are, they are still undeterministic. So you need to understand that nature of LLMs and then design systems that push it towards determinism. You cannot absolutely guarantee determinism, but you can certainly create systems and workflows that will push it to more determinism. So that's very important. And then comes the output validation again. Let's say if you have action-based systems where you say, I have to send a mail to a person. Those actions have standardized schemas. You need those fields. You can't send an email without a subject, right? And you'll be surprised if you do not have these kind of output validations, how often LLMs can make mistakes. So, excuse me. Now, switching to security and responsible AI. There has always been bad actors in the world. They have tried to hack banking systems. They have tried to bring servers and cloud systems down. They have tried to bring the defense network down. All kind of things. Which is why we have cybersecurity as a field, right? So your application is also vulnerable to those same bad actors. And which means those malicious actors will try to get unauthorized access to your systems, give malicious prompts, or even worse, make your company's chatbots, generate some questionable language and create PR challenges for your company, right? I'm not sure if you know, like a year or two back when ChatGPT was a new thing, General Motors had a chatbot on their website, and one of their users messed around the system, and the chatbot agreed to sell Chevy Tahoe truck at $1. So that's an actual case. The person posted, shots on Twitter and everything. So you get the general idea. You need to have, defense against malicious actors, and that's very important. Similarly, the other responsible part of AI comes from bias, fairness, and right language kind of scenarios. So just because you are a small company doesn't mean you don't have to be cautious of this. Of course, you can't spend much money on that, but again, every effort to make unbiased statements, having those fairness checks in place, would really help to make a complete system, not something that's just a prototype, but an actual complete application. Right? And finally, the monitoring and feedback part. And this is the part where I would like to contrast, let's say 2 or 3 decades back, if you had a problem in your system, you could fix that in a couple of months and you'd be fine. Why? Because internet wasn't there, so information did not catch up quickly. Second, you did not have bigger competitors. But now the landscape has completely changed. Information flies off very quickly, and secondly, every day you have new competitors. So you need to complete that feedback loop and make sure your mistakes are solved as quickly as possible. Otherwise, this world can be very unforgiving. So monitoring feedback, correcting your actions is important. So that leads me to my end slide. We stand at the frontier, not to witness the future, but I hope to shape it. And I hope some of you can take that spark and shape that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sagar, for such fascinating insights. I have learned so much in such a short amount of time, and I'm sure the audience has as well. So now we're going to shift over to our panel discussion and hear how AI developments are being applied in real-world settings. Up first, we have one Ashley Beam. Ashley is the Senior Director of Engineering, AI Enablement, and Strategy at 2U. And with over 20 years of experience in technology, she leads a team of engineers that build generative AI solutions. Next up, we also have Zsolt Kira. Zsolt is an associate professor in the College of Computing at Georgia Tech. His research explores how robots learn from and process sensory data with a focus on deep learning. And his work also looks at how robots teams can share knowledge and work together more efficiently. And then next, we also welcome Nikhil Deshpande. Nikhil is Georgia's Chief Digital and AI Officer, leading digital transformation and AI initiatives through the Georgia Technology Authority and a champion of accessibility, user-centric technology. He has launched award-winning programs that serve millions, making Georgia the first state fully compliant with accessibility standards. And lastly, but certainly not least, we welcome back to our stage our keynote speaker, Sagar Patel, to round off our panel discussion. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Now, for me, this is what I am most excited about. It is quizzing and just questioning these expert minds in this field. But I'm sure as we get into our conversation, that'll also spark some new ideas and questions for yourself as well. Again, after our discussion here, we're going to have some time allotted for all of you to ask some questions as well. But without further ado, to kick this off, we heard some of Sagar's thoughts towards the future and of application of AI. I'm curious from the rest of our panel as well, what are you seeing coming down the pipeline? What's to come, kind of foreshadowing in AI that you're excited about? I guess we'll start with Ashley here.
Yeah, I think that most of the discussions that I'm having today are about agentic AI. And I really loved some of the things that Sagar pointed out. I'm really thinking a lot about feedback loops and monitors, and how do we create systems that can watch for model drift. How do we make sure that we're making the right decisions? What are the moments and points where we need to check on the actions that are being made, and just the responses that are being generated? And how do we best do that? What are the thresholds? What do those look like? And then who do we alert, and how do we adjust from that?
Yeah, so I'm academic background, so I'm really excited about the application of AI to science. So, and not just computer science, but also biology, chemistry, improving people's health, and so on. I think definitely has a lot of potential to really increase the pace of science that can improve society. And then the other thing, the other thing that was mentioned already is like decision making, or systems that can basically carry out whatever menial tasks. I use it all the time for things that are not the exciting things that that require a lot of like thinking or deep kind of skills, but really menial things that that have to be done, but I can get rid of using AI, and then I can really focus on the cool parts. Of course, coding and those kinds of things, there's a lot of really exciting things that can come out from that.
So first of all, thank you for having me here. This is awesome, and a really good continuation of what Sagar kicked off today. Going forward, I don't think we're going to have conversations about AI specifically in isolation of everything else that we are doing, because AI is going to be a part of everything. But for now, what we're looking at, I kind of see it in three distinct ways. One is the technology. Second is people, adoption. And third is, because I'm from the public sector, governance. Technology, yes, absolutely agree. Agentic, we saw like what the capabilities are. We are quickly moving from seeing AI generate things for us to actually now take an action. And the promise is that it will be all automated. But that's the technology piece of it. Like, how does it affect us? So I'm pretty sure everyone up here and everyone up there using AI in their day-to-day at a personal level, and some of us at the professional level. So what are some of those things that just take the robot out of us and leave the human part of us to make most of our time and the decision making? Because like as humans, like we have things like empathy and critical thinking, and as we saw earlier in Sagar's talk, like you ask AI something and you're gonna get 3 different answers every time you ask. So really the onus is on us, like, come on, don't be stupid, make the right choice of using it as a tool. Don't rely and give your life's main decisions on an AI response. And the third really is the governance piece of it, right? So we have seen across so many states AI bills being proposed, and every year the bills just multiply. So we know there's a lot of public interest in having some level of governance to what AI tools can do, shouldn't do, because we've probably learned our lesson from social media. Today, so many things we hope we did back then that today, in the news, we are always cringing, saying, such a missed opportunity. We could have regulated that better. We want to do the same thing with AI today. So hence, there's a lot of interest from constituents to their lawmakers, and a big part of my role is to have those conversations.
Absolutely, and I think selfishly I ask, but I'll look to you as the authority, Nikhil. I mean, how close am I from AI just doing my taxes? That would be great. There's also that governance side of it too that you see, but really looking into the future, obviously we talk about AI 10 years into the future. That is the crux of this conversation. But I'd be remiss if I didn't at least kind of spotlight some of the pitfalls that we're kind of seeing already with AI, depending on its application, right? We have autonomous ride-sharing apps that are doing loops in parking lots with passengers inside, and then also you have models that are having to be taken offline and then kind of reworded or coded depending on the bias of the platform that's hosting that AI. So in some of these applications, and not just for you, Nikhil, but for others, are we putting the cart before the horse here and just saying AI as the magic future word that it's just going to find its own solution eventually? Or are we missing some of that human element that I think a lot that Socrates is pointing to?
I mean, since you brought up taxes, I would say if someone believes that AI is a magic bullet, then absolutely they're putting the cart, before the horse. Like, it's not. It's a tool, it's an augmentation tool, and it will stay going forward. And yes, there are certain things that it can do. For example, if in the last couple of years you used TurboTax, AI has done your taxes. It's just not generative AI, but it's not probabilistic, but it's deterministic, right? So based on your input, it calculated certain things, and there are certain algorithms that ran. Everyone has woken up to AI since November 2022, but AI has been amongst us for a long time. Like, we're just talking generative AI, and now with some of the newer flavors like agentic and everything. But if we just kind of pause and look at it as a technology, I think it's very evident that we are still long ways from seeing a reality where, like, we don't have to do anything. Humanoids or bots are just going to do everything for us. We barely get things without any hallucinations out of our models today. So we still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I think there's a quote that typically we overestimate the kind of how good or how much particular new technology will shape our immediate future and underestimate it in the long term. And I think that's true here. I think there's a lot of hype right now. I mean, there's a lot of amazing things that are being helped, like I mentioned, coding and other things, but it really does have to be intelligently applied. You can't just throw it at everything. You need to really, like she was saying, kind of before you deploy things, make sure you test them, make sure you monitor and show, for example, in coding, is it actually providing productivity gains, or is the code maintenance issues and things like that are being created downstream. And so I think we just have to intelligently not just throw it at everything, but do a really intelligent job of actually deploying them.
Also the data, we really have to have clean data that is up to date, and we have to give the right data, access to the right data. If we have given our LLMs access to stale data, that's problematic. Biased data, that's problematic. So making sure that we have good volumes of the right data, and that we have systems in place to continuously keep that data up to date and correct. So lots of that came from Sagar's presentation.
I'd like to jump in here. I think we are chasing a moving target in many ways because things are developing so fast. Every day there's a new tool coming, and it has its intricate nuances to use it efficiently. So once that kind of normalizes a little, a lot of user education will be required to use it in the right and responsible way. Otherwise, it can fall off the rails very easily.
Touching on the user education, especially because we have educators here, I'm curious, how do you go about teaching the masses? Because I love this panel right here. We're talking ethics. We're talking, hey, make sure you do the research. You build the road first before you drive on it. How do you go about, especially as an educator, teaching that while also still being cautious of those guardrails that being from tech, somebody might plagiarize a whole essay or plagiarize a whole resume for you that you're like, well, I want you to do this thing, but the way you're going about it, how do you kind of curve that?
Right. Yeah, and I think there's several aspects to education. I mean, one is teaching fundamentals and just, how can people know exactly what's going on under the hood for all of these techniques. And for that, we're actually moving to more classical in-person tests and those kinds of things, just because, AI is good enough that people can use it. But then there's, like we mentioned, we do have to, as part of my course, I always provide, parts that are dedicated to bias, fairness, ethics, responsibly deploying these kinds of systems and things like that. So I just think we need to get the word out and ensure that as we're training these people who will be deploying systems into society, they are cognizant of that. And, I think in engineering, for example, there's often a viewpoint of, well, I'm just a technical person, I'm just coding, let other people worry about, the ethics and how do we put guardrails and those kinds of things. And I think, I try to emphasize to them, if you are the one developing these methods, first of all, you're in the best position to inform, understand what these systems can do, what are their limitations, so that you can, educate higher up, right, like C-level or other, politicians and those kinds of things. So it's really kind of getting the word out and, making sure that it's security, fairness, ethics is like a fabric throughout the courses and the education materials, rather than being like an afterthought.
I think it kind of roots into actual ethics and intent. I'll show you two sides of the spectrum. The first one is how AI is supposed to be used. Let's say I know what model cannot do. I do my due diligence to make sure those things are embedded in my prompts. I make sure the output makes sense before sending it to my boss, right? But imagine a fifth grader who just wants to finish their essay quickly. They'll just prompt it, maybe say make some mistakes so it looks like fifth grader.
Just fifth grader.
But the problem is this. On the extreme side of spectrum, where I actually have the general intelligence to know the repercussions. A kid does not. And that puts them at even a higher risk, because even before they understand the whole world and their intelligence develops, they are already handicapping themselves by using AI. It's a little tangential point, but I think more education and awareness and responsible education is required in that domain.
It's scary seeing some of that, medical report that came out, I think about like a month ago, where they did brain scans of kids who were using, or maybe people who were using AI for a lot of their tasks day to day. They saw that the gray mass was significantly, kind of diminishing, because it just takes away our ability to critically think about things, because the first thing, our instincts just go to ChatGPT and start from there. Like granted, ChatGPT took away the blank paper syndrome, where like creatives used to face just staring at a blank screen or staring at a blank piece of paper. It gave them a starting point, but now that has almost become a crutch for everyone to just go and, just put before even thinking about things. And that's really key, where if it's a young kid starting out and they just get used to using AI like this, then
yeah, their intellect will just not evolve enough. And I'm not sure if you have seen the movie Idiocracy. It might not be to a far-fetched reality.
Certainly. I look at this conversation, and you kind of spoke to it as well, where the adoption for some of this tech is so fast in comparison to where I remember hosting this series 3 years ago, and this was still kind of like dipping our toe in the water and feeling this out as far as like, hey, this is going to revolutionize some rudimentary tasks that are really mundane and make it, speed it up. But now, my mom's using ChatGPT, and I'm like, how? And so I'm curious about that, because for me as a creative, I naturally look towards a lot of what you were talking about, Sagar, in your keynote, is that you have to kind of build the roadmap as far as what you're asking, the crux of the application that you're using it for, right? Giving those prompts. But I'm curious about the inverse. Is there a way that we can have not just ChatGPT, but AI help us inspire to be more creative? Because I'm seeing a lot of the other way around, where, hey, if you're looking at solving this prompt or this issue, make sure you ask these guidelines, this rubric, right? We're kind of having to coach that up. But what about the other way? Are we seeing that kind of come around?
I think I have a quick answer to that.
Okay.
It's very easy. You know it in your heart. You chose to use ChatGPT and do it, 1 hour critical thinking job in 5 minutes. You're the one who chose it to do it short way. You could also have met it in midway, where you say, hey, let's go back and forth, refine this, and make sure I understand everything that I am pitching out. So knowing what you are pitching out, or having understanding of what you are doing is more important, I believe. So that comes from within. It's like, do I choose the shorter and easier route, or do I choose the responsible route and do it the hard way?
Also, it shows in the outcome, right? Like, you give us a task. All of us use ChatGPT. We all settle into a certain level of mediocrity, right? But if you truly are talking about being creative, you have to apply your mind to come up with something creative that you will not get out of ChatGPT. And that shows, right? I mean, that's the reason why so far no AI model has been able to write a really good song. I mean, you can generate a song, you can have ChatGPT write lyrics, you can go to Sano and it will have vocals for you, it will have orchestration for you, but it sucks. It's nowhere close to what you would go back and listen to again and again. And that's the thing, like it can generate for you, but it will not be able to help you be creative.
I think one interesting thing is, in some sense, there's a double-edged sword because it does democratize kind of creativity and other things. So I am an awful, artist, but now I can actually, I can have ideas, of course, like what do I want? I cannot just instantiate it with my hands. So I can now ask an AI to do it. Similarly for coding, like for front ends, is not something I've ever done. Now I can just literally whip it up. And so I think, for people who are not experts, I think it really builds them up because now anybody is able to. I think there's lots of stories where people are not really coders, but they have a startup idea and they just let the AI do a lot of it, at least to do a proof of concept or MVP so that they can pitch it and then do it, with engineers and things like that. So I think it's kind of a double-edged sword where, I think definitely if it's your profession, typically it's really just aiding you to get rid of like some of the menial things. Whereas if it's more as a hobby or you're not very good at it, similarly for coding, I think there's some studies that show that it's really building up the people who aren't as good of a coder or as experienced of coders, which I personally think is good. It's always good to democratize and build up, right, everybody to allow them to fulfill their dreams. Yeah.
I was going to echo what they're all saying as well. Like I'm weekly getting calls from all over our organization, not from the engineering teams. We have people who are vibe coding and creating all of these things, and they're like, "Look what I made! Like, how do I, actually like productionalize this? But like, I made this on my own time." So I think in some ways, it's unlocking creativity, and I think that. This goes back to how we are training people and educating people that this is an enablement tool. It is not a crutch. And showing them the difference between how to use it as an unlocking mechanism instead of a crutch. And, people are going to choose what they're going to choose and how they're going to use it. But I think that when they see that this can actually enable you to be an artist if you're not an artist, or enable you to be an engineer if you're not an engineer. Like, I think that is a motivating factor right there when they see that it can enable them to do things they wouldn't have been able to do before.
I guess to kind of like piggyback off of that, what advice would you give to an organization that's starting to really implement AI, maybe for the first time or a little bit more prevalent in their organization, to where it's not you having to look over their shoulder and say, okay, but now did you ask it this? How do we encourage that kind of spontaneity and creativity in there for minds to flourish? Because I feel like now a lot of what we're seeing with these prompts reminds me of when you would return from summer break and your teacher would say, hey, describe in a couple paragraphs what you did this past summer. And you had some that were vibrant essays and, wow, you went here, you did all this, and it was fun. I played baseball. Like there's that in our society, where you're just going to have those two that people can run off and others that are just do everything for me. Is there a bridge that you kind of connect between organizations or people when you're having these discussions with friends, family, coworkers?
I think it's baby steps. I think, when you're starting to venture into this as an organization, it's, it's easy to picture the final thing of what you want to do, but I think it's important to start with baby steps and saying, where do we have clean data that I know is up to date and is good? And maybe how can I use a large language model to help me have like a more human-like conversation about this data? And I think you build from there. But creating a system that has good governance within your organization takes time. And so I think I'm hearing a lot of companies say, oh, we've got to get our data all situated first. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's important, but we can also start with baby steps, and you probably do have a data set that is clean, that you can start with, and you can grow and learn from there.
Joel, I'm seeing your head nods here. I'm assuming you're in agreement with that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and I think, again, in academia, so like I think everybody should approach their life as like lifelong learners, right? So I think everybody throughout the organization should really, spend some time understanding, like not necessarily the technical details, but just how do I prompt it, playing around with it, seeing what's possible. I think we were talking earlier, kind of the other thing is organizations can also create, right, like little groups, like AI labs and things like that, where you have some experts that can shepherd all of the different organizations. I mean, one of the weird things about AI is that it cuts across, it's not just engineering, it's also like marketing and visuals and like everything across the entire company. And so having like, small labs with experts that can shepherd all of these different groups in understanding how can they best make use of these things.
Let me jump in. I mean, it's actually a small part of my job to have these conversations with organizations like state agencies, right? So their aspirations for using AI, I always have to start with the why. Like, why is it that you want to adopt? And there are certain very valid reasons why they would. But as an organization, if you were to jump into and have embrace AI as part of your organization, like always start with like, what are you trying to aim for, and how are you going to measure that success, right? Because when we look at AI, there's a lot of noise out there. But there is true promise in what AI can actually deliver. So you just have to identify like, how is it that it's going to truly help you? I'll give you an example, right? Most of the organizations across the state, we started seeing AI as a really good tool to help constituents with some of the basic questions that otherwise they would have to pick up the phone and call and wait in line because so many people were calling, right? So if they just go on the website, just through a chatbot, get their answer, great. If it's something that's a little more involved, maybe the bot can route them to a human agent helping them or give them a number to call. Customer service is definitely a low-hanging fruit at this point because it doesn't really deal with any sensitive data or anything that you have to be truly very worried about. But as you go forward, there are so many ways that you can embrace AI to. Another example that we have been brainstorming with an agency is when caseworkers go and talk to people. There is a good amount of conversation that they have because they have to have a very deep conversation about the certain case, living conditions, whatever it is, right? They retain that conversation, then they go back and then they do the paperwork. There's a good chance that memory doesn't serve them that well, and there are some errors, there are some missed parts in that paperwork that then causes delay. If you just have an agent that listens to that conversation and has the paperwork ready for that person to verify and then submit it, right? That's a really good way of using an AI agent that can actually listen, can populate, understand the context, and also reduce the amount of errors and speed up. So this person, this caseworker, can actually accommodate more cases than they could because they just spend so much time doing paperwork. It has to come down to what is it that you're going to be using AI for, and how are you going to be measuring the success of it? And as an organization, to your point, are you ready? Because a lot of the organizations, especially if it's a older organization, the data is a mess, and there's so many variations, and that's not going to help because your AI is going to be only as good as your data. So there's an organizational readiness that every organization has to do, check, and then obviously have some roadmap for what is it, how are we going to deploy it, and then how are we going to measure it.
I'll build up on everything you mentioned and resonates a lot to me. But my, again, one-line answer is make your application developers use the application. Eat your own dog food. So many products would be so better if only the people who designed them actually used it. Today morning, I drove my car, I followed Tesla maps took me 10 extra minutes. Saying I can bet I followed on-screen instruction and it threw me on the wrong track. I wish Elon Musk drives the Tesla.
It seems like what you're all saying, especially kind of going back to your keynote, Sagar, as far as looking into AI and its implementations, there still has to be, right, you're only as good as your data. Somebody's got to input that data. So it seems like there's still this mutual blending, if you will, between human and machine kind of working together as AI gets better and it develops. But something I'm actually kind of curious for your expertise, Nikhil, how are your governance talks going in regards to that conversation where, okay, cool, I still have a job here, and if anything, this is going to maybe expand my job, my horizons, but, right, what conversations are you having to where that starts to kind of get on the boundary line of, okay, I still have my job here, right?
It's funny you ask. For the last many months, I've been doing these lunch and learns going across several organizations where they host me. I just go and talk. I'm literally being tagged the AI guy, right? So just go and talk about AI. And I show them what's out there, what's possible, blah, blah, blah. And then when we come to QA, that is the first question is, am I going to have a job? This is what I do. And, it is very real. The concern is very real. And I'm not going to lie, but a lot of the jobs that are pretty much repetitive, they are going to probably diminish into extinction, right? Because robotic process automation solution or any agent can easily do that. But I always talk about the job and your value that you bring to the job, right? So as an individual, if you identify what your value is in the role that you're executing, and you hold on to that value, I think that is the key going forward, is envisioning us with AI tools, not trying to compete with AI tools. Because if you're just trying to be an AI tool, it's not going to help you. But the human piece of us, right, for the reason why we have any jobs that we do, there is definitely a human component why we are hired. And if we hold on to that, we're hopeful that that should translate in the future in a way that the bridge is really kind of how humans work with technology and not against it. So I always advise people that, if you're not using AI, I always ask a show of hands, who all uses AI on a daily basis, and I'm always surprised how little I see as far as people who are, and it's do that. It's a muscle you're building, and it has to be done every day because you're truly, just building up to be part of the future workforce. Because, if we are just hoping for this wave to go away, it's not a flash in the pan. This is going to take over, and this is going to require us to update ourselves as part of what we see as our function is going forward.
I'll just kind of echo that question right now. I'm curious, how many of you, raise your hand, are using AI on a daily basis? Is this about the number you see?
It's a little more than what I see.
This is a bias sampling.
Which makes sense. It is.
But
We're here for
bias
this.
sampling.
Absolutely. So I guess to kind of, pigtail off of that, how would you look at, I guess, encouraging others, whether it be students here or people that are adapting AI, how would you encourage others to look forward to the future with AI? What do those conversations look like for any of you?
I think we as humans have mastered evolution. At every point, let's say industrial revolution, things changed. We found the new areas to contribute and evolve. So I'm sure as long as you have that growth mindset and you're cognizant of what's to come and how do I adapt and evolve, you should be fine.
Yeah. I think all technological revolutions, right, always have this kind of uncertainty. Which jobs will be, less important and which should I evolve to? I think one thing that is certainly true is that it's the role of the government and organizations and things like that to make sure that you train and upskill people. I think right now probably the people who are, getting out right now into jobs and maybe even a little bit more junior are the ones that are going to be the most impacted. And so I think it's our responsibility everywhere in like government, all organizations, to make sure that we train and upskill them such that they can train for the jobs that will exist, right? I'm optimistic that I don't think it will replace whatever 50% of white collar jobs or things like that in the near future. I think that's overblown. I think we'll just be managers of AIs. We'll have lots of little AI agents but we still have to add that human element, our understanding of context, of the organization, of relationships, all these kind of, human relationships in society are really important. I don't think AI is going to master that. So I think, again, the key point is to make sure to upskill and anticipate what are the jobs that are going to be here.
Can I add one more thing to that? I think AI is not going to replace your job, but the person using AI could. So.
Absolutely.
This is why, his point of like, use AI,
And I think because we were talking backstage before too, I think a lot of that just comes with that human element. I mean, as I spoke on earlier, so many people are just readily there to adapt this technology and just be like, all right, cool, it does my taxes. I'm done. I can look away, right? But there is that human element that you have to bring to it, especially right now as in current state, right? There's prompts, there's guidelines, there's things you have to suggest for that algorithm to spit back the information that you're looking for and also for it to be accurate information, right? But you still have to have that responsibility of like, you can't be lazy, you have to do the work. And I'm wondering, for those of us that have kids, how do we go about teaching that younger generation too? Because you'll see it, right? Us, we answer the phone like this. They go like this. It starts to be, it's this quick cycle that immediately within a generation, they almost forget, again, to drive a stick shift, right? They're already accustomed to the automatic transmission. So I'm just curious as a parent now looking into all of this where I'm like, what is my daughter going to see? How do you go about as a parent to say, hey, this is how we don't forget these fundamentals and the foundation where we came from, but while you look to the future, this is how you stay grounded. I'm just, selfishly looking for my own parenting advice.
We were just at lunch talking about this, and I've held these little boot camps with my kids where we start out with doing fun things. So this was their introduction to ChatGPT, and try to get them to do things that they enjoy doing and see how AI can do it along with them, but slowly also embed the idea that, like, again, this is a tool. End of the day, it's a tool. Maybe it's a power tool, but it is still a tool. Like, you cannot give up your critical thinking abilities going forward. And schools and colleges, they're doing their role in making sure they set all the guardrails for how and when they could be using AI or they couldn't be, but we are going to be using AI regardless going forward. Like at this point, if our organizations haven't offered using AI, I wake up every day and for me, my day's summary is already there. Like my meetings and my meeting notes from my previous meetings for like what I need to be prepared for, it's already there, right? So is it great? Yes, it saves me an hour every day. But again, like, I know that I don't blindly do that. So when I remember, like, oh wait, but I also said this, it's missing in here. This bullet point needs to be in here. Like, to your point, like, yes, follow the maps, but like also if it's just sending you a route that makes no sense and your way around, use your human judgment. So I'm hoping to have that balance struck with my kids where like, these are all the cool things, do this. I expose them to like creating art and music and like all of the cool things that AI can offer. But also at the same time, like you are the creator.
Yeah.
It's just a tool for you.
I love that. And I think,
sorry.
Go by, yeah.
I don't think I'm qualified yet, but here's my 2 cents. It is our responsibility to create that safe space. If you remember earlier I mentioned the people who are intellectually challenged and emotionally vulnerable are the, a critical mass of people who might not have the right experience with AI. And it's our responsibility to create that safe space. So it could be the right set of guardrails, educating them what it is not, and not have that taboo such that they end up living a different life and project a different reality to you and secretly do things which might not be right. So yeah, create the right safe space.
I love that. I think that kind of wraps up a perfect panel conversation in one little bubble here. This is where I throw it to you all, the audience. If any of this conversation, or maybe there's just a question lurking in the back of your mind, now is the time to ask. We have a mic right here in the center. Feel free. Come on down. Starting with over here, we'll form a little line. By all means, Mr. Marshall, get on up there. Be our first one.
Thank you. Marshall Shoemaker. So I work in enterprise, so everything you said was powerful to me, but I have a consumer use case I want to throw at you. And it's a little personal, so give me some space to sort of express it. So this morning at 6 a.m. I wake up and I need to communicate with my partner, who's no longer in my house, but hopefully I want her to come back to the house, right? So I go to chat, we bagging around, we iterate with a text message to send the lady, and it was like there were 4 sliders on the goal of the text message, and Chat and I went back and forth on the sliders and all about emotional content positioning, all this stuff. Finally, we got something together. I sent it. When she called me back, the tone in her voice told me I'd hit it perfectly. Now, I didn't hit it. ChatGPT hit it because my talent is upsetting her. Chat's emotional sensitivity to relationship was perfect. That's all I have to say.
Good job.
I think the key is like, did you disclose that this was drafted by ChatGPT, because that needs that level of transparency. No, but you're right. I mean, I think the key here is that you still decided to send that. Like, you were okay with that draft, right? So even though you might not have been the wordsmith, like, the decision was with you to be able to send it or still refine it further to the point where you felt like, okay, this is okay to send it. And that's what we try and embed that within organizations, where like, it's okay to use ChatGPT to brainstorm on things, but when you publish something, it has to have your fingerprint on it. And some level of disclosure that you have used an AI tool to create this.
Yeah, it's an approval workflow. That was generative, not agentic yet. If it auto-sent, that would have been agentic.
Right.
Would have needed a feedback loop. So, anyway.
Next question.
My question is for Sagar. In that presentation that you gave, you used your framework for enthusiasm about the future was you extrapolated from material science, I believe drug discovery. I can understand for Zolt, he's at Georgia Tech. He can kind of referentially collaborate through physics with different people in his department to kind of experimentally validate where he's going. But you deal with transactions. From what I understand, retail transactions. What is your theoretical framework? We have physics. What do you use exactly for you to so confidently project into the future? Again, what you used was farming and drug discovery, physics enabled, but you're dealing with, I guess, collective groups of people, right? So by the time you have enough data, when you deal with collective groups of people, it's commoditized and not really valuable. So by default, you're dealing with a lot of information. You need a different framework. What are you using exactly to get that insight?
That forays into a nice point that I wanted to mention, but I somehow missed it in the slides. And it kind of relates to what he mentioned also. You just don't have to squeeze AI into everything, right? Sometimes traditional systems are doing just fine. So we try to be a little responsible in the use of AI and use it when it's really warranted. So traditional business operations like transaction processing don't have much scope directly into AI. But then if you talk about an enterprise scenario, there are scenarios where you want to do fraud detection, when you want to avoid platform abuse and those kind of scenarios. And that's where traditional statistical machine learning was already doing the job. Now AI is also picking up and giving more benefits and pushing the perfection kind of thing. So bottom line is, if you work in certain domain long enough, you will always find problems to solve. Some of them can use AI, some of them cannot.
Next question, yes.
Yeah, it was a great discussion. So actually, I was just following the presentation what Sagar did. So currently, we are talking about Gen AI because of three factors, right? One is that the innovative algorithms that came up. Second, the computing power that increased, and third is the data. So how are you seeing it will be in the next 10 years? See, keeping in mind, so the great algorithms, whatever we have right now, the deep neural networks, for each query, it goes through so many billion parameters, and it goes hundreds and tens and hundreds and thousand times to generate a text. So these are energy inefficient. That's how I see how it is going to be in the next 10 years. And second point, that GPUs that we are talking about, in order to cool down the data centers, we are using a lot of energy.
I understand.
Yeah,
And
and-
I'm glad you're talking about that issue, because that also is something that personally speaks to me. Sam Altman did a Twitter message where said the amount of cost we pay for just people responding to hello and thank yous.
It's costing billions of dollars,
right?
yeah.
So I totally acknowledge that, and unfortunately, there's no way to regularize this, right? Today, if you have, let's say, $100 in your pocket, I cannot govern and say you're only allowed to use it on good things and not bad. So unfortunately, it's a difficult space to regulate. But what was the first question? I actually had an answer, but I forgot.
Basically, the transformer architecture or
Yes.
the deep learning is
Yes.
very great, but I feel
Yes, and I have an answer to that. And that's the true thing to our title, 10 years into the future. I hope we evolve past the transformers architecture. Do we really need this much of amount of compute? I hope not. So yes, I'm hoping at some point we will evolve past those algorithms and find something more efficient.
Yeah, I think, again, humans are the best example. And we have, our brains work, A, much more efficiently. B, have lots of other things like memory, reasoning, like multimodal processing is not just throw tokens into a transformer. So I do think there's a lot of room for both more efficient but also more capable kind of architectures. But I think all of those three things will evolve, right? I think data, there was talk of saturating, right? Of course, at some point you run out of web data, and a lot of people have moved to synthetic data.
that was my last concern. We are talking about AGI, like human-like reasoning and more specialized, right?
Right.
So right now we are talking about training with publicly available data. I know there are practices that they're following. They're taking the copyright data or the private data.
Yep.
So how do you see how it is going to be in the next 10 years, keeping that AGI into picture? Are they really going to achieve this AGI, taking all this copyright or privacy data, or what regulations that would be coming into picture?
Yeah, and there's a lot, I think all of that is unsettled right now. These companies are making a lot of deals with private data owners, right? Like Reddit and all these other publishing companies and things like that. But also, like you said, there's going to be at some point some regulation about IP and how do you actually compensate the people that generated some of this data, especially artists and those on. So yeah, I think that's such an evolving landscape. Personally, I think I'd like to make these models more efficient in terms of data. I, as a baby, did not ingest all of the web to function, and so it would be nice to develop architectures that can continuously evolve, have reasoning, memory, and those kinds of things that are much more human-like, and therefore be both more compute and data efficient. I don't know if we'll get there. I think right now where things are kind of saturating a little bit, and again, in technology, this is always how it goes. There's the S curve. at some point we'll figure it out and have another explosion in techniques.
This is also how the job market evolves. So we've got new problems that have occurred because of the new technology, and we need to train up a new workforce to help solve those problems. So when Joel talks about the responsibility of universities and educational systems to create job paths and to understand the job market and what's going to be needed, this is the need. So the problems that you've identified are things where we need new minds to help solve it. So, and where we don't have enough people who understand the technology to solve it right now.
Yeah, and personally, I think quantum computing is gonna. I think it's already kind of. I mean, I'm not an expert, but my understanding is, it's not yet production level for sure. That'll be a while off, but they are making a lot of progress. So at some point, maybe we'll have different forms of computing that again will be much more energy efficient, and/or enable algorithms that are more capable. So I think all of these three pillars are going to be interrelated, as well as energy. Yeah.
Also, it would be cool to find a new source of energy that is cleaner and abundant.
Yeah, there's fusion, I guess. Yeah, people are working on that. Yeah.
And I think we have time for one final question there in the back.
Yeah, this one's from our virtual attendees. Blue-collar jobs or white-collar jobs? Which one will be impacted more by AI in 10 years? It's a question for the whole panel.
Yeah, I mean,
I think both.
Yeah.
We are seeing a lot of humanoids that can do, and physical robots that can do a lot of this work for the blue collar job groups. But the white collar job groups, that for the longest time when automation was talked about, white collar jobs always seemed secured compared to blue collar jobs. That's not true anymore. So the evolution is going to impact both.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that AI kind of flipped how I thought it was going to be. First, it kind of did creative things like image and video generation. Then it did white-collar jobs, and then blue-collar jobs are at the end. I personally disagree a little bit. I do robotics at Georgia Tech. It is very hard, fighting physics. I think there's a lot of hype around humanoids. I mean, I think they're going to be for sure deployed, in the next 5-10 years in manufacturing and those kinds of places, but not. I don't think you're going to have a humanoid come to be a plumber or electrician in your house to fix, your sink.
Amazon warehouses, though, from what I've seen.
Yeah,
videos,
exactly. So logistics.
Bunch of the boxing and mailing, everything is now just
Absolutely.
arms.
Yeah. But there's a lot of blue collar, building. Putting up posts and electricity and plumbing and all that kind of stuff. I think that's going to be a way long off before so I personally will say blue collar jobs will be the last to be, because robotics is hard.
I think I can add one last thing. So traditionally, AI making impact, the simple acid test is this. Is it standardized problem? Yes, no. If it is standardized, AI may be able to solve it. Is it a repetitive process? Perhaps automation can solve it. So things like what you mentioned, like putting up a post, it's not standardized. Every post is high, low, it's a different location and things. So, imagining AI doing that is a little too far-fetched. So that would be my acid test, essentially. Is it a standardized problem? Warehouses. You have racks, you have boxes. It's a standardized problem. AI can solve it, yes.
And then your thought to close it out.
I don't know. I'm still really learning about that space. So I think that's really interesting, what you called out about robotics being hard. But there are places where we're already seeing convenience drivers and delivery and that kind of stuff. But
we have Waymos around here.
Right. And so that to me has replaced probably blue collar jobs. But fascinating to think about the robotics of it and the humanoid piece.
Well, thank you, each of you, for this conversation. This discussion is fantastic. Thank you again for giving a round of applause. Again, thank you to our panelists, Ashley, Jolt, Nikhil, and of course, Sagar. Again, one more round of applause. You may take your leave. And now, pretty sure you all have been waiting for this moment, and that is drawing some prizes. We've got a lot of insights that we're drawing, but now I've got 7 tickets that I am drawing for 7 winners of you, and then we'll have a couple more prizes after these 7 have been drawn. So make sure that's all right. Perfect, perfect. So you all drew some blue tickets. Hopefully you did when you came in here. I'm going to be reading off, again, the first 7. Brittany, I may need you to stay close for those 2. Okay, perfect. All right, first 7, make your way to the stage if your number is 3997907, 3997915. Looks like we're copying those numbers. So 3997895, 3997910, and then 3 more here. 3997902 and 3997899. Last but not least, 3997872. If those tickets were called, come on up. We've got some prizes over here on the end stage for all of you. Again, 907 872 910 895 915 7899, and then 7902. Come on down. 7899, 399, 7899. That's right. Play those lotto numbers. Do we have a couple more? Pick 3 more. Okay. I'll pick 3 more. 2 more. Okay, 2 more. Picking 2 more right now. All right. We're looking at 399-7916 and 399-7883. There we go. We got 1 in the back. And then 7916. 7916. Perfect. Right up here. Awesome. Thank you. You won our first prize. Yeah, feel free. Come on over. I won't bite. Come on down. Nice. Those are the first prizes up. Awesome. Hey, photo up. They get those income payments logos out. Love it. Awesome. All right. Awesome. Feel free to make your way off the stage there. Thank you all so much. Thank you all for attending. I got 2 more awesome prizes. Big ones. There we go. Love it. I'm going to grab these first 2 because one of which...
I have a third just in case.
Okay, I will just in case. Hopefully I don't need it. But with all the conversation, of course, surrounding AI, I bet you're wondering how it works in real time. Which brings us to the big giveaways featuring AI technology, one of which is going to be a Ray-Ban Meta AI glasses. And then also, we're giving away Rabbit R1 AI Assistant. So we're ready to find out who those lucky numbers are. Drum roll, please. Here we go, starting with the Ray-Ban AI MetaQuest glasses here. 3997874. There we go. Nice. Come on down. Right over here. 3997874. She said, read it and weep. You already know I stood up for a reason. Come on down. You got yourself the Ray-Ban Meta AI glasses. Congratulations. Feel free. Step on. And a gold bag is right. Absolutely. I'm here for you, dear. Thank you so much for playing, Michelle. Nice. Bag matches the shoes and the fit. Love that. Awesome. Look, we got a photo up right there for you. Awesome. Thank you so much. Love it, love it. Okay. And now, I want to make sure I said the right number here. 3997874. Was that the one you just did? Okay, cool. That's what I thought. I got one right here. Just checking, making sure we're paying attention here. Everybody at home? Okay. 3997882. Hey-oh, there we go. Love it. Get that Rabbit R1 AI Assistant right up here. We'll hop on stage, take a nice little photo up here for you. Come on down. Hey, love the shoes. Hey, cheers, man. Congrats. Love that. Awesome. Congratulations to our winners. Thank you so much for making your way up to the stage. Big round of applause again for all of you here. So here's the fun part, right? These panelists, these experts, also people maybe in your field sitting right amongst you. We're going to have discussions and conversations with our happy hour right behind the stage here. So that's going to bring a wrap to here. But just know that the beverages, the food, the conversations can still flow right behind me. But as we come to a close to another Spark Demo Day powered by Go Studio and Plug and Play, we look forward to seeing you all at another Spark event in the new year. If you want, you can go follow Go Studio and Plug and Play on social media to stay updated. And don't forget to tag us in any photos or videos that you took throughout this demonstration here today, just to continue that conversation online. Hey, look at that. I know that guy. We also invite you to, again, come check out Go Studio for yourself at Incom Payments headquarters here in Atlanta, where we continue to serve as ground zero for a host of innovative solutions and technologies. It has been an absolute pleasure hosting today's event. We hope that it has sparked new ideas that can help you or your team stay ahead of the new curve that's coming. But now, again, we welcome you to stick around for networking and finish your refreshments as we see you all in the next event. Thank you all again. Feel free to take some food home, bathrooms, beverages, whatever you need right behind the stage. Cheers and enjoy the rest of your day. Hey, thank you for having me as always. Of course. Love it, love it.
Get a picture with the panelists.
Absolutely. Panelist pick.